So when I was in college, I had these great dreams. It was like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and a lot of that came from when I started stepping into leadership, right? It's different roles, and one of them is when I was started to help out with the youth, and I was like, man, I have these great visions. I want to do this on the campus, but it was like too little, too late to start it up because there was a lot to, the process was long. And after I graduated college, I had you're so like on fire for what God is, instructing you to do that you kind of sometimes go overboard, right? So I was like, man, like, so God, like after I graduated college, I'm ready to work in the city, like, Inglewood, that was like my target. I was like, hey, like I'm ready to work with the youth and everything, right? But thankfully I had this talk with this pastor some years back. I don't know if he's watching or not, but this young adults, youth pastor, um, we were meeting. It was February 13th, I believe. Let me check my notes. Because, hey, it's good to write notes, to remember everything that was said to you. And it was February 13th, 2017. And we was at the Starbucks right down the street from my house in Matson, right? And he was just talking to me about leadership and what that looks like. And one thing that he said that stuck with me to this day that's why I'm talking about it today is the telescope, right? You might, okay, it's a paper towel. It's a paper towel roll. Hey, but like, I'm on a budget, right? I'm on a budget, the budget bus. So bear with me. And you guys can get your own paper towel rolls too, or whatever you want. And what he was talking about is the telescope. How there's two ends to the telescope. So if you have your paper towel, the first end write A, second write B. So what he was saying is how we're used to looking through this telescope from like A to B, right? Or whatever letter, whatever you want to put on yours. We look at the front to the back, but seldom do we understand that to make this telescope, to make this paper towel, whatever you want to talk about, is you have to have pieces to make up everything, right? So to make up the telescope is like it has different parts. So you have part right there, part right there, part right there, and it looks like this. You have different parts to make up everything. And what he was telling me is that it is good to have these visions, right? To have these great visions and be like, I want to do everything I can. And when we do that, we sometimes we forget where God has placed us in our lives. In the areas where he was like, hey, I need you right here for this season. And you're trying to jump ship. You're trying to like mix it up and go over here. Like, I understand you have great faith in your works. Hey, you doing good. But it's like, why are you trying to, accelerate so fast? Like, this is not divine acceleration. This is your own self ambitions. This is your own acceleration. And it's good to slow down. And when we slow down, we see everything that we're missing. And it's like, and if we don't slow down and we go too fast, sometimes we have to go back. And he's like, man, like, you don't want to get to that interview and saying, I wish I knew this before I applied for this job. I wish I learned this in my prior, employmentship. And for me, that happened a lot of times. And like, I had to finally realize what God was doing. And he was not telling me, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. Like, no, he was saying, the plan is still here. But what I need you to do is to learn, then grow. So as a leader, like, doors are starting to open up for me, like just seeing it in, like, I'll say, like, in ministry, whatever that ministry is for you, it might be the same thing. But for me, like, just seeing different doors open up, different connections, because I'm taking my time now. And at first, I was not doing that. So I was like, Madison, like, I wasn't even thinking about my own town. So you got Madison, and then you got Harvey. You got all these places. Actually, Madison, Country Club Hills, Markham, Harvey, and then it's like all these places just to lead up to the city. So what I want you guys to do is like write down different goals. Like for me, I'll write this down. What? I guess I'll write where I start school, teacher, full all hats, whatever, all hats, and then from that, I was a teacher slash cleaner, and then helping out with the youth, like whatever it is, summer camp, yada yada, like you feeling a bit woo woo, whatever it is. And then from that, it's like it keeps on going, and it's like youth. Then it can be youth leader. It can be somebody who's coordinating different trips. Like I don't know what God has in store for me in the fullest, because it's like I don't know, and sometimes it can be frightening, right? But just get out your telescope as a reminder and be like, man, okay, this is where I am right now. This is where God needs me to be. But it's like I need to learn all of this in between. He's gonna take me from this spot. He's not just gonna be like, oh, boom, you're ready. He's gonna be like, hey, you're being ready throughout the process. Like for David, he wasn't just fighting the Goliath the next day. No, he fought a lion. He fought a bear, and then eventually he was ready for Goliath. And then he saw like, hey, this pastor, Tim Ross, he talked about this when I was at this conference by my house, and he was just saying like how like on their hind legs, bears and lions, they stand about 9 feet. So Goliath was 9 feet, and David was like, I did all of this. I'm prepared for this giant in my life. Are you prepared for the giants in your life? Are you seeing the telescope as just the A and B? Are you seeing it as an A, all in between to B, or are you seeing it as A to Z? You got all the alphabet. You can't forget the rest of the alphabet. You can't do that, right? And writing notes is good. And like this is what I wrote down at the telescope right there. You can see it. You can read it. It's etched, and I keep this around with me because as a reminder of what that pastor said to me. And it's like, you never know what God has in store for you until you open your eyes, open your ears. And like I hope that today you guys continue to take that step with Christ. Like you just no answers out there that can help you out with this. There's no riddles that you can solve to help you out with this thing called life. So I pray that you guys accept Jesus in your heart. I pray that you submit your plans to God so he can reveal his to you, right? And this is verse in James. It talks about our faith, and it says like when we can ask God for anything, right? And he won't rebuke us. So I'm paraphrasing, but it says make sure your faith is in God alone, like not anything else. Not, oh, what am I gonna do tomorrow? What am I gonna do to supply for my family? Like it can be frightening to just submit and be like, okay, God, here it is. It's frightening. It's frightening for me. It's like, because I'm sitting here like, man, God, what do you want me to do? I don't know. Because when you're not in control, it's like that sense of fear, but at the same time, it's that sense of enjoyment. Because imagine you're rock climbing, right? I was rock climbing last week. Imagine you're rock climbing and you're just climbing up and you're climbing up and you hear all these people below you. Like God is like saying like, you got this. And it's like, man, like I don't know where to step. And he's like, step to the left, step to the right, and you got this, right? And then sometimes we can't make it to the top, to the bell, and we fall back down. And God is like, hey, here's the harness, get back up. And he's teaching us how to rappel down so our fall is not as bad as the last times, right? In the past, our falls are deeper and we don't know how to get down. But then you have the harness, the Holy Spirit saying like, hey, just rappel, kick off the wall, kick off the mountain, kick off. And then you can reach the bell when you have that practice, when you have that coach in your life. And that's why I pray that we all get to and we all start to realize, hey, go on that roller coaster ride and know you're on the tracks. God has you on those tracks. And it's gonna be leaps and turns. You're gonna be screaming and everything. But God is with you throughout the roller coaster. And when it's over, you know what? You're not gonna be afraid of heights. Like, hey, I conquered my fear. And you'll be like, man, God, let's do it again. And he's like, man, the park is closing. And you're like, I don't care. Like, I wanna be in your presence. Like 24/7. So then with that telescope, it's gonna be etched in your mind. It's like wherever you are, God, I wanna be there. Like wherever you send me, I wanna be there. Cause if not you, then who? And don't be afraid to step out of the box and lead when nobody else either is, or step into different areas where people need you. It's like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Like you might not be recognized that moment. You might not be paid for what you're doing in that moment, but God is preparing you because somebody's seeing you. Like somebody's seeing my videos. Like it's crazy. And I'm trying to step it up. Cause I'm like, man, God, what's next? Like I don't know. This is fun for me. I don't have no audience in here. Y'all my audience, but look, like the pillows, the picture on the wall, the lamp, no. Cause like my audience is God, and God is like, hey, I'm gonna magnify what you're doing because you're trusting in me. In the past, you were trusting me in different areas, but now I'm like you're fully in. And each day is gonna be different because some days you're not gonna be in. Some days I'll be like, God, like I'm out. I don't want to do this no more. And he's like, all right, you can sit there for a while. You can pout a little bit. Then he's like, hey, Ashley, I'm gonna come back. You know, I'm gonna get you up because you ready. And then you're back in it. And that's what it is. Like self-care, self-love. Remember the telescope. And I know I dropped a lot on y'all, but hey, that's life. And it's 12 minutes. And you have 12 minutes to put aside for this. So I love y'all, and I hope that this message blessed somebody today. And as always, I love you guys, like I just said. And I'll see you next Friday. At what time? That's right, 7 o'clock. All right.